how she styles. Good morning. What's up, Derek? Hello.
Hi there.
I see you figured it out.
I have never done this before. I was trying to see if I could do it like on my computer, and then I was pressing buttons on Instagram on my phone.
So let me, I don't know if you're going to get this, but when you act like Allen Iverson, this is what happens. No.
I vaguely understand that reference.
All right. Allen Iverson went on a rant about practice. He was a great basketball player.
Yes, that I know.
Why doesn't he practice? He was like, practice? So you showed up for the game.
Yes, and I did not practice, and I should have.
So how you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Camille. I run Camille at the Wheel, which is a pottery business, and I have been doing ceramics for I want to say 4 or 5 years now.
Okay.
And
right.
yeah,
that's enough.
Okay.
Now we're going to get into the questions, and then we'll get into your journey.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool. All right. If you had the opportunity, would you go to the moon?
Would I go to the moon? Yes.
Why?
Because it's the moon. It seems like it would be pretty cool. I've seen photos of it, the ones that we've all seen. If I could guarantee safe passage and safe return to Earth, why not?
But that's the thing.
That's the if. I would still go. How many people can say they've gone to the moon?
All right. Okay. What word or phrase do you overuse?
What word or phrase do I overuse? Probably at any rate. Okay. I do a lot of qualifying I'm a project manager is my day job. And so a lot of my job is explaining why we should or shouldn't do certain things, even if we're going to do them anyway. So I say at any rate quite a bit.
All right, I'm with you. What is your least favorite thing to do?
Ooh, my least favorite thing to do. Gosh, that's a good question. My least favorite thing to do is to empty, when you're washing dishes and you have like the little thing in the drain that gets the food in it. I hate emptying that out.
Okay. I'm with you. Dishes is way overrated.
Yeah, I don't mind like doing the dishes, but it's like just emptying out all like the gunk, and then you have to clean the little drainer, and yeah, it's gross.
Yep. What is your most favorite thing to do?
My most favorite thing, well, it's got to be pottery. I love doing pottery.
Okay. What is the one thing your significant other or spouse would like to change about you?
Oh, one thing my significant other would like to change. He's standing behind me. I should just ask him. Probably he would want me to empty out the little thing in the sink more frequently.
What makes you tick?
What makes me tick? I get really excited by like new ideas and new things to try out. When it comes to ceramics, I love trying new forms, trying out new, just things I haven't done before. I just love learning and like growing and trying new things.
Okay. What irks you the most?
What irks me the most? When people don't signal when they're changing lanes.
We do that a lot here in the city.
I know. I know. And for me, like I'm from St. Louis, and so I'm used to like highways and more like a little bit more open space than in New York. And it's just like, it's not hard to hit the clicker,
Yeah. Who's got time for that?
No, but New Yorkers do not have time for that.
What sound makes you happiest?
I really love the sound of, from St. Louis, I live in New York, but there are, I don't know if they're crickets or cicadas or what, but in the summertime, in the evening, there's this just loud cacophony of these bugs screaming out from the trees, and it's super soothing to me. It immediately says like, this is summer, this is home. So I love that sound. And then I also love the sound of water, like oceans or rivers, any kind of flowing water.
All right, cool. What sound bothers you the most?
Sound bothers me the most. Certain chewing sounds, like other people chewing loudly. Like
is that for the guy in the back?
No, he's a very quiet chewer. Yeah.
What profession other than your own would you like to try?
I love plants and greenery and gardening and things like that. So I have always thought that I would make a great botanist or ecologist, something to do with understanding the earth and plants and all that stuff.
Okay. What would you want on your tombstone?
On my tombstone, gosh, she lived a good life.
I'm with that.
Yeah.
What is it about your personality that drives your business?
I think for me, I am, I wouldn't say that I'm bubbly, but I think I'm personable, and I think that comes through in my work. I always like to have a personal touch. I think that's what makes small businesses really special. And so I include things like handwritten notes and thank yous. I touch every single piece that I create and that I ship out. So I think that personable touch makes a difference for my business.
What is it about your personality that hinders your business?
I am a perfectionist. And so there have been a lot of times when instead of just doing something, I think my way out of it. And so not being willing to just jump in and like go forward without thinking through every single angle has been something I've been trying to overcome.
Okay. If you were to travel across country on a motorcycle, who would it be with?
It would be with my partner who wants me to empty out the dishes a little bit more.
What was your favorite concert?
Ooh, my favorite concert is I saw Gladys Knight at Coney Island like 7 years ago. And my friends and I were the youngest people there by like probably 25 or 30 years. We had the best time. The crowd was so friendly. We made friends with everyone that we were sitting around. Gladys Knight sounded great. She's also the very first concert I ever saw as a child. My mom took me to see her when I was 4.
Okay.
So seeing her again as an adult with my friends at Coney Island was like a perfect summer night. It was so fun.
And everyone's singing all the songs.
Everyone sang all the songs. Gladys did a cover of Mary J. Blige to open the show, which was really great. She looked fantastic. It was really fun.
Cool. When was the last time you cried?
The last time I cried, it was probably a week or 2 ago.
Why?
Why was I crying? We have been dealing with trying to purchase a home, and there have been some parts of that process that were extremely stressful, and those led to some tears.
Yeah. So where is it you want to live?
Well, we're staying in New York, but we're looking for have been looking for places out of state, closer to my family in St. Louis. So I'm not leaving New York, but we had just been kind of looking around and seeing what might be possible.
Okay. What impact do you want to leave on your industry?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, well, for me, I don't see very much representation of Black people or really non-white people in pottery and fine arts and things like that. And I know that that's not true, but to have that visibility, I think, is really important, and to be able to tell those stories and show that kind of art that is important to all different sorts of people. And for me personally, I love the craft, and I love the act of making things. And so to really bring that joy and bring kind of that focus to the industry, I think is important to me. And also that pottery is something that's meant to be used. It's not, in my case, it's not just like some delicate vase that you can never touch, or like your grandma's fine china like on the table that you could look at but not touch. It's like,
Right.
touch
Not for
it,
the
use
show.
it. Exactly. Like I want it to be long lasting and something that maybe you'd pass down to somebody else in your family, you know, that stays around for a long time.
When was the most difficult time for your business, and how did you overcome it?
The most difficult time has probably been right now. My business is fairly new. I launched in September of 2018, just selling pieces as I had them available. And then COVID hit, and the studio where I work out of, it's a communal studio in Manhattan, they had to shut down. And so, you know, they were undergoing their own sort of crisis, not being able to operate their small business. And I was not able to make anything, of course. And so figuring out how to start back up again, and how to get my own wheel, how to set up my own studio space, and really trying to figure out how to keep up, generate interest and keep up with the business in spite of everything that's going on, has been challenging, but also really rewarding. And the problem solving, I think, has been a growing experience.
So have you solved any of those problems?
I have. I have set up a studio in my grandfather's basement on Long Island. And it's like a tiny little corner that's kind of like, it's almost a quarantine in and of itself. And so I've been working out of there on weekends. And I'm figuring out, you know, glazing and really figuring out like getting things set up. I was able to get access to a kiln recently. So, you know, really starting from the very beginning of like, get the wheel, get a space, begin to, you know, throw pieces, get the kiln, get the glazes. Like it's really piece by piece, have been moving the business along.
I think that's probably better for you because you get to know the ins and the outs of how it works.
Absolutely, yeah. And I have been really spoiled because the studio that I work out of is, it's great. And they do all of that kind of the nitty gritty work for you so that you just focus on making pots. But this way, exactly. But this way, it's like, I have to learn, you know, how do I recycle the clay? If this piece breaks down, what do I do? Like it's a great learning experience, and it does force me to understand the business and understand like what all goes into making this possible. And I've always appreciated what they do, but now doing it myself, I appreciate it even more.
Yeah, and it also lets you know if you want to or could afford to do all of it yourself as you're doing.
Yes, for sure, for sure. And it's also been good because I think one of my very good best friends said recently that a lot of our problems are that we're limited by our imagination. And so we can't even think about what might be possible because our imaginations are too small. And this has been, I think, a great example of you don't be limited by your imagination. Like you can make pottery in a small corner of a basement with limited space and figure out how to operate a studio that's different from what you used to do, but you have to because of the circumstances.
Yeah. It's like there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Someone's done this before, so it's not new.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you have any white friends?
I do.
And we just covered this. Do you often see people of color in your industry?
I don't. I have more and more recently, and thanks to Instagram, have been exposed to a lot of really fantastic, you know, BIPOC ceramicists and artists of all varieties. But in my day-to-day ongoings, it was rare.
Okay. Who would you most like to have a conversation with?
Who would I? Rihanna. Well, besides you, who I'm talking to right now.
Let me tell you something. I want to have a conversation with Rihanna too.
Yeah, I would love to talk to Rihanna.
Okay, so why would you like to talk to Rihanna?
She's so cool. Like she dropped all these albums in a very short period of time, was a super famous musician. Like in all these videos, everybody was like, Rihanna, Rihanna, Rihanna. But then she was like, I'm done with the videos. I've given you my music. Now let me move over into Fenty. So let me drop my makeup line. Let me drop my skincare line. Let me drop my clothing line. Like she's so versatile and she seems really in charge and like understands her brand and what she wants to do. And yeah, she's just, I think she's very cool.
I I agree with all that. I also think that at some point she's got to get back in the studio.
I mean, probably she will, but I think also that she's just doing whatever she wants. Like she's given us what she's given us, and we have to be happy with it.
I don't even know if she's 30 yet. She's got a lot more to give.
She does. She does. Yeah.
And I kind of, I used to sometimes get annoyed with the Williams sisters when they were in the middle of their tennis and they wanted to be interior designers. I'm like,
oh, I forgot about that period.
When you're done playing tennis.
Mm-hmm. You have to follow your dreams as they come to you and as the opportunities arise.
But, okay, now, my question is, are those really dreams? Or is it just something else you want to do because you got bored?
It could be. I don't know. Right,
we're just talking. Okay, so now that the questions are over, we get into your journey. I'd like to start from high school, the things you did, and what led you to being a ceramist.
In high school, my high school actually offered ceramics, but I didn't take them.
Why not?
Brother, it didn't occur to me. I think maybe it didn't line up with my schedule or my other classes or something. I did theater in high school. I was not on stage. I was the stage manager, which won't surprise anybody that knows me. So I've always been kind of connected to art in some way, but I was behind the scenes. And then in college, I got into photography.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Boston University. And loved photography, got into digital photography, film photography, and that was just doing that in my, my spare time, not with like formal training. I was a film and television major, so I was doing like a lot of media in school. And then getting into like out of high school, when I moved to out of college, when I moved to New York, I did a project called Project 365 where I took a photo a day for a year. My first year, like documenting my first year in New York. And so that was kind of like my creative outlet then. And then ceramics came around.
Okay, wait a second. Those photos, are they posted anywhere? Did you put them on Instagram?
No, Instagram wasn't like around. This was before Instagram. They are on Flickr. Do you remember Flickr?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're there. I don't have like the professional account anymore, but I was very active in the Flickr community and still am in touch with a lot of my Flickr friends as we've all migrated to Instagram. So I think my handle was like Carmen San Diego, maybe. It's been a while.
Is that your last name or was that a stage name?
No, that is a name. I went to Girl Scout camp when I was a kid, and at Girl Scout camp they make you like pick a camp name that's not like your real name, and so mine was Carmen San Diego. That was like my AIM handle.
It's all good
as well. There's no logic to it.
It's fine as Girl Scouts.
Yeah. So I was into photography for a while, and then ceramics came about a few years ago. I had just always kind of been interested in it, and had wanted to take a class, kept putting it off. Actually said on my first date with my now fiance that, and I don't remember saying this, but that my dream was just to own a pottery studio and a bookshop and a coffee store. Like that's what I just wanted to do.
What did he say to that?
Well, I don't remember saying this, so I don't remember what he said to that, but what he says now is that I have from the beginning always wanted to do ceramics and always just been interested in pottery and just love that kind of aesthetic. Like it's calming, it's creative, it's tactile, you're making something, like you're doing something with your hands. It's not just like sitting at a desk all day, like it's something that you actually are physically involved in.
Okay, so we have a comment here. Esmeralda, where in the world is Carmen San Diego? In Queens.
Yes.
Okay, so what was your first class like?
My first class was great. My teacher was called, her name is Lynn. My studio is Lamano Pottery in Manhattan. I think it's the largest studio in Manhattan. And my teacher was Lynn. She's this like she's very short, very commanding. And she was like in charge from the start. She gave us a tour of the studio. She showed us where everything was. And then she had us wedge up our clay, like showed us how to do all of that. And then she walked through the basics step by step. And I remember after the first class, I didn't make anything like, it was horrible. I made like paperweights. But she was such a great teacher and she was so enthusiastic and she was so clear. And I was just so excited to continue on with the next lessons.
Due to her enthusiasm in delivery.
In part because of her enthusiasm in delivery, in part because I was just really excited to finally be taking ceramics. The environment was great. The other students were fun to talk to. It was just like all around a really wonderful experience.
And I said that to give a shout out to all the teachers out there.
Mm-hmm.
Stay positive and enthusiastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you never know who's in your class.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And all the teachers that I've had there, I've taken since several teachers there, and they all have different styles, but I have learned different things from each of them. And they'll tell you like, you should take other people's classes because you'll learn different things. Like this one person might make a handle this way, and then this other person might do a totally different thing. Like it's good to learn from different people and different styles.
So at what point did you get the hang of it? How many classes did you take?
I took a lot of classes. So the classes they're 8-week sessions, and those 8 weeks fly. And because it's such a popular studio, and really all ceramic studios in New York have this problem where there's so much interest that you have to like jump on immediately or the class will sell out. So I took classes repeatedly for like a couple of years. Get the hang of it is a relative term. I still don't always, I've got the hang of it now mostly, but there's always something new to learn. I would say for me, getting the hang of it and feeling comfortable enough to take people's money for my stuff, that I reached that point when I launched my business 2 years ago in September. Prior to that, I think I was pretty good, but I really wanted to make sure that some of the basics like even walls and well-weighted pieces and like structurally sound cups and things like that. Like I didn't want to be out here selling people garbage. So I think when I launched is when I really felt like, okay, this is good enough to sell. And
who was your first customer? Where did you first start selling?
My first customer was my fiance, who also built my website. So he's like my number one fan.
Look, let me tell you that's and shout out to him, because when you are with the entrepreneur, you sign up to put in some work.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what you need from your partner.
Yeah. Yes. So he was the first person whose money I took in exchange for a pot. My second first customer that bought from my website was this woman named Lauren, who was she was my internship coordinator for like a media fellowship I did in New York when I was in college. And she had been following my work on my personal account for a long time. She'd been asking, when are you going to sell? I can't wait to buy something. And as soon as I put up the notice that my shop was open, she was my first customer.
Nice.
So that was like long time support.
Okay. So your fiance, the first piece that he purchased, is that in your home now?
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's a turquoise vase. You can't see it. It's on my website. It's sold out, but it's a small turquoise vase that I made.
So he's there. Can you grab it?
Well, we're not at home right now. Is the problem. We're not in our apartment.
All right. Okay. All right. So, and what's his profession? What does he do?
He runs a small business himself. It's in the construction industry.
Wow. And he decided to do your website.
Well, his business is also an online business. So he's built his own company's website. So he knows how to do web development.
Okay. Um, so how did it go with selling your stuff? Where is it? Did you advertise? How do you market?
Yeah, so I sell primarily online. I started when I first launched. I posted to my personal Instagram, and then I had also gotten the Camille at the Wheel account and started posting there. So I post online. I market mostly through Instagram, and then last year I started doing the Queens Craft Brigade, which is a local artist collective in Queens, and they have a market every month during the summertime and into the fall. And that was really great exposure, really to the local community. I live in Astoria, so to people in Astoria, and was able to sell my work in person. And so through that, I've done a couple of other markets. I've done a couple pop-up markets, things like that. So it's mostly been online through Instagram and my website, and then when we were able to do things in person together, doing markets.
Okay. Did did you find that Instagram was enough to support um, what you're doing? Did you get enough of
Yeah,
business from there?
so I have so far. The thing for me is that I have a full-time job in addition to ceramics, and so for initially, Instagram was plenty sufficient. It was good exposure, and I was getting, hits to my website and things like that, and able to sell in kind of small batches as I had work available. The past month or two, there's been a huge influx in activity, and so I've gotten a lot of messages through Instagram and a lot of emails through my website, and that has really kind of allowed the business to take off in a new way.
So what are you doing when people are requesting your stuff and you're not being able to make it right now?
I set up an email list so that people can be alerted. I can alert them when I have new stock available, and also once I've gotten through my current backlog of orders and I'm able to accept new orders, I can let them know, and then plan to just do it kind of on a first come first serve
How much
basis.
how much of a backlog do you have?
It is. I think there are. I want to say 50 pieces
Wow.
that I'm working on, and I'm probably about halfway through that, just in the initial phase of throwing those pieces.
That's a lot.
It is. It's a lot, which is why I spend a lot of time in the basement of my grandfather's house.
Now, okay, so let's talk about this basement.
hmm
Does he use it?
Um, Occasionally, yeah, he's got his own section of it, and then there was a washing machine that doesn't work anymore that my uncle moved for me, and the wheel just fits perfectly in that slot. So I'm down like a small corner of the basement, where I'm kind of separated off to do the pottery.
How expensive is it to get a kiln?
Oh, kilns are very expensive. They can run you several $1,000s. The one that I got recently is a small kiln, very
Oh,
small, and I
so
bought it
you got a kiln.
secondhand about like a week or two ago.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's a secondhand. A pottery friend of mine actually sold me hers. That was not several $1,000s. That was like a few $100s. And
And
then the
it's
the
big enough to put
wheel.
how many pieces? One piece?
It's big enough to put. Well, I've only seen photos, so I have a concept of it, but haven't actually tried it out yet. But it's big enough to fit probably like 10 or 12, depending on the size of
Yeah,
the pieces. So
that's
I'll
good.
be able to move things through pretty quickly.
Yeah. And you're only there evenings and weekends?
Yes, right now, yeah. I am occasionally will take a day off of work and just spend the whole day there. But yeah, working on evenings and weekends.
Cool. What do you see yourself in a year?
In a year, I'm hoping to have my own studio space, closer to home so that I don't have to, I live in Queens and don't want to have to drive to Long Island all the time. But yeah, having a dedicated space, would be a dream a year from now.
And how much would you like to be on the wheel?
I am fortunate that I love my day job. And so I'm not wanting, like some people are like, I can't wait for my hobby to take off so I can quit my day job and this becomes my day job. But I happen to love my day job.
No,
So
and that also makes your side hustle more challenging because you love it too. And that's what
exactly.
I'm asking.
Yeah.
If it was close, would it be something where you would leave one job and go to the next, and you're there till 10, 11 o'clock at night?
Yeah, and I don't. For me, I wouldn't want it to be that. Balance is important to me, and really being able to have control over my schedule. So I think it's a matter of figuring out how much volume for my side hustle can I comfortably sustain while still enjoying it and still making a profit and still making it worth it without driving myself into the ground.
Because once people give you that money, ain't no more
It's a
guilt.
contract. Yeah, exactly. It's not. I refer to it as a hobby, but once money is exchanged, it's a business, and you owe people
It is.
what they've paid you for.
Exactly. Exactly. That's
Yeah.
when the page turns.
Exactly. Yep.
Have you had any classes out of state? Have you ever traveled for classes?
I haven't traveled for classes, but once I was switching jobs. Before the job I have now, I had left a job, and as my gift to myself in between jobs, I booked a house in Florida. Like I did voluntarily go to Florida for a week, but I went to this tiny little like Airbnb in Bonita Springs that was right by the beach, and it had its own pottery studio. And so I just like made pottery at this tiny cabin, like right by the beach for a whole week by myself. It was incredible. So I haven't taken classes out of state, but I have traveled for the purpose of pottery. And I
Very nice.
also, whenever I go anywhere, if there's a studio, if there's a pottery shop, like I'm popping in.
All right, cool. Is there anything that I didn't cover that you'd like to mention?
Um, Anything you didn't cover? You covered a lot of ground. I will say I come from, I think, a creative family, and so as much as I've talked about like high school and being in theater and all that other stuff, that my mom is also super creative and has always been for my whole life, like knitting or cross stitching or creating quilts or things like that. So it's kind of like a family trait to be able
Is
to make something out of nothing, which I
is
appreciate.
is your mother on Instagram?
My mom is on Instagram. Yes. I
Does
think
she
she's
post?
watching this in the other room, perhaps.
Does she post her work?
She does. Yeah. She posted recently. I think it's a private account though. I don't know if it's public, but she recently finished this really cute sweater that she had been working on. So that's her latest creation. And I have a lot of socks from her. I've been getting socks for Christmas every year since I was in college.
So your mother is still knitting you socks.
Yes, she is.
Beautiful.
It's great.
Beautiful. Um, Thank you.
Thank you.
I greatly appreciate it and wish you luck.
Thanks so much.
One gentleman said that pottery is the first step to wood turning.
I have a friend who is, he has a lathe, and we've talked about like what sorts of collaborations we might be able to do. So I'm on to the wood turning game, although I have not myself turned wood.
Yeah, it's also addictive.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many shapes, so many types of wood. It's on and on and on.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I really
Thank you.
appreciate you coming on and wish you the best.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all for tuning in as well.